One of the most known Gemarot on the Chorban is the question that Yirmiyah had. Everybody knows that the Gemara brings down that wonder Yirmiyah Navi had at the time of the destruction. He didn't understand at all why the destruction happened. Couldn't figure it out. It's so much so that he went to look for somebody that would be able to help him out and understand why the destruction happened. But nobody around knew the answer to this wonder. He went to the Chachamim. He went, it says over there, to the Nevi'im, to the prophets. He went even to the Malachi Asheret. Nobody was able to figure out why the destruction happened. This is what the Gemara says in Bamatzia Pei. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Mai dichtiv, מי איש החכם והבן את זאת, ואשר דיבר פי השם אליו, ויגיד על מה עבדה הארץ. Who could tell me and figure out why was the land destroyed? Says the Gemara, דבר זה אמרו חכמים ולא פירשו. They went to the sages, they went to the great sages that were there in their generation, in the Gemara generation, and in Yirmiyah generation, and the sages at his time were not able to figure it out. Amru Nevi'im velo pirshu. They went in the generation of prophets. Yirmiyah was there. They went to the prophets. They couldn't figure it out. Other places it says they went to Malachi Asheret. They couldn't figure it out. Until they went to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. They told him, it's a puzzle. We don't know. It's a wonder. Can you help us out? Why was the land destroyed? עד שפירשו הקדוש ברוך הוא בעצמו ואומר השם על עוזבם את תורתי אשר נתתי לפניהם. Because they abandoned my Torah. Now everybody knows the questions over here, the Gemara, what it means, עוזבם את תורתי, שלא בירכו בתורה תחילה. But there's a very basic question here that I think much is missed. I didn't hear anybody ever ask this question. Could be it's my לא ראינו אין הראיה, but it's not so much asked that Yirmiyah, in the same chapter, chapter 9, it's chapter 9 in Yirmiyah, and he himself tells us exactly, lists out the sins of the generation. And there were horrific sins. There were terrible sins. There were things that if you just go to the list, you see that if anything deserves of a destruction of Beit HaMikdash, those are them. Let's just see that a little bit. We're talking about the same exact chapter where Yirmiyah right afterwards asks and wonders, why was the land destroyed? Chvas nisht, I don't know. But in the beginning he tells us, and this is the way Yirmiyah speaks. Mi itneni. This obviously speaks in the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is now HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks. It's a prophecy. Mi itneni במדבר מלון אורחים ועזבה את עמי והלכה מאיתם כי כולם מנאפים עצרת בוגדים. This is how the chapter starts. Mi itneni במדבר מלון אורחים. I wish to be in the desert, a lodging place for guests. ועזבה את עמי, and I would leave my people. והלכה מאיתם, I'll go away from them. כי כולם מנאפים עצרת בוגדים. They're all adulterers. Assembly of traitors. It doesn't say here there were some. It doesn't say here that there were majority. Kulam. It's a terrible nevuah. They all menafim. They all assembly of traitors. Atzeret bogdim. Imagine a nation that entirely everybody's sinning to such an extent. I think we're talking about destruction of Beit Rishon over here. Not like Beit Sheni, that they were tzaddikim and they were learning and the only sin they had is the sin of Schinam. Beit Rishon, they were guilty of many sins, Avodah Zarah, Shfichut Damim, Gilui Arayot, and all of them, Yirmiyah says, are guilty. The next pasuk continues, וידרכו את לשונם קשתם שקר ולא לאמונה גברו בארץ. כי מרעה אל רעה יצאו ואותי לא ידעו נאום השם. What does it mean? וידרכו את לשונם קשתם שקר. They bend their tongues like bow and arrow with lies. which means they would target people with lies. לא לאמונה, they were dishonest, כי מרעה אל רעה, יצאו, they proceeded from evil to evil. ואותי לא ידעו נאום השם, they don't know me, nobody knows me. What is this? Nobody knows me in כלל ישראל. Next pasuk, איש מרעהו ישמרו. Be careful one from his friend. You have to beware from your friend. There's no friendship. There's no honesty. There's no relationship of trust. You have to beware from each and every person. Do not trust your brothers. אל תפתחו. ועל כל אח אל תפתחו. Don't trust even your brother. There's no trust between brothers. There's no trust between friends. כי כל אח עקוב יעקב. Every brother will deceive you, will take advantage of you. וכל רע רכיל יהלוך. And every friend will deal with you with gossip. Imagine the generation, imagine how ruined they were, how bad they were. This is how Yirmiyah describes the generation. איש ברעהו יעתלו ואמת לא ידברו. לימדו לשונם דבר שקר, אהבה נלאו. They all cheat each other. איש ברעהו יעתלו. אמת לא ידברו. They didn't speak any truth. They couldn't speak truth. Truth wouldn't come out of their mouth. לימדו לשונם דבר שקר. They trained their tongue to speak falsely. חץ שחוט לשונם. The tongue is like a sharpened arrow. דיבר מרמה. מרמה דיבר בפיו. שלום את רעהו ידבר ובקרבו ישים רבו. They speak to you one way and they go behind your back to stab you. They show you friendship and behind you they come and stab you. על אלה לא יפקוד בם? Hashem wonders. That's how we, after he lists all those things, I should not punish them for this? For all these deeds. על אלה לא יפקוד בם? נאום השם. אם בגוי אשר כזה לא תתנקם נפשי, should I not avenge against such people? This is Yirmiyah bringing the prophecy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and right after that, he comes out and asks a wonder, and wonders the following question. מי האיש החכם ויבן את זאת, ואשר דיבר פי השם אליו ויגידה, על מה עבדה הארץ? Why was the land destroyed? What happened? Everything is so beautiful. Everybody says so good. Why did Hashem punish us? And nobody can figure this out. So, in previous years, I explained, לפי עניות דעתי, that two explanations. One explanation I thought to say that Yirmiyah was not asking that they did not deserve the punishment for the sins, or that they are all talit shekulat chelet, the mamash, all good. But Yirmiyah is asking, what brought them so low? How could you become so low? That was a question. Am Yisrael, which is such an elevated nation, how do they come from such an elevated stage all the way down to the floor to become mamish like criminals? The worst of the criminals. How did that happen? And that was the wonder of Yirmiyah. And then Hashem tells him the reason for that is because they left the Torah. And we all know that the Gemara says that they weren't learning Torah Lishma with the Bach explanation. That's what it means. It means that they weren't learning Torah in the correct manner. They took it in a wrong approach, and therefore the Torah was not able to fix them up, to make them into a correct Jew the way that one should be. That was one explanation. Another explanation, I thought, is that we all know that Torah is magna umatzla, which means when a person sins, there's a protection policy. What is it? It's the Torah. Torah is magna umatzla, levai oti azvu, v'mitzvotah azvu, everything, v'torati shamaru. As long as they keep the Torah, Torah will bring them eventually to become better. It's just the time until a person that learns Torah becomes better. But as long as you learn, you have the protection from the Torah. So Yirmiyahu was asking, how is it possible with all the sins that they made, the Torah that they were learning didn't protect them? Why did they didn't get a protection? Could be one of those approaches, could be that it's true. Today I like to tell you a little bit different. Or much different, very different. And that is with the understanding of the Maharal. The Maharal, as you know, wrote a lot of sefarim, very much in depth, explained everything in a different light. Imam, he put out a new understanding to the Agatot of the Gemara and the Agatot and the Midrashim, and even on Chumash, he has the Guraria in length, everything. And I'd like to take you through that understanding, my understanding in the Maharal, the way he saw things. And we'll start first of all with the question, what is a Churban? What is a destruction? What does it mean, Churban Bet HaMikdash? Bet HaMikdash was destroyed. Yerushalayim was destroyed. Eretz Israel was destroyed. What does it mean, Churban? So, on a simple understanding, everybody understands. It just became rumble, and everything that was there is not there anymore. It just went to the ground or went in ashes. And that is a Churban, which is obviously true as well, but that is a very superficial understanding. This is not the depth of what a Churban really is. And I like to see how the Maharal explains what a Churban is, because he has a totally different understanding. But first of all, in order to understand that, we need to see that few Gemarot that I found that seem to support the understanding that Churban doesn't mean literally that the thing is destroyed, this became not there anymore. A famous Gemara in the beginning of Megillah, Daf Gimel, the Gemara says over there, speaks over there of cities. When do you read the Megillah on Yud Dalet, then you read it on Tetvav, and the Gemara in Gimel Amud Bet speaks about Krach Shecharav. There was a city, a walled city, and it destroyed Charav, which means Chorban. What happened to that city? The Gemara wants to know. What happened to that city? What are we talking about? The Gemara gives first the option and says maybe the walls fell down. That's a good understanding. That's a little understanding of what happened to Charav. Charav means it destroyed, it fell down, there's no more walls, so it doesn't have any more walls. And it changes the status from a walled city to a not walled city. Says the Gemara not like that. The Gemara shlugs it up. There's a brisa that understands not so, and the Gemara gives the final understanding. What is it? The Gemara says the following. Shecharav, what does it mean? Krach Shecharav? Shecharav me'asara batlanin. Which means there were 10 people in the city learning and available to have a minyan for shacharit, mincha, arvit, for davening. They were there. Batlanin, what does it mean? Batlanin, it says over there that it's betalim and melacha, and they're sitting down and they're learning and they're davening and they fulfilling, making up a minyan at the place. And now the 10 people became 9, 8, 7, not anymore 10. The Gemara calls this Krach Shecharav. The city had destroyed. What does that mean, this city destroyed? A person left town, he went to a different place, it's called destroyed? Yes, it's called destroyed. Why does it call destroyed? Because up to now, the Shechina was here, because Kol Be'asara Shechina Sharia, and now there's no Shechina here. It's changed the status. Changing the status of something is called Charav, according to this Gemara. And the Maharal brings few proofs to that. That's just something that I found, but there's few proofs to that. Another thing that also I came across is what it says, very famous, that Adam HaRishon was commended, Re'eh et ma'aseh Elokim, ki mi yuchal letaken asher ivtu. Who could fix? Look at the Kadosh Baruch Hu told Adam HaRishon, look at my beautiful world, look at my deeds. Who could fix what you break? מי יוכל לתקן את אשר יבטו? חז"ל say the following thing in קהלת רבה. בשעה שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא את האדם הראשון, when Hashem created the אדם הראשון, נטלו והחזירו על כל אילני גן עדן. He surrounded him and showed him all the place of Gan Eden through every tree. ואמר לו ראה מעשיי כמה נעים ומשובחים הם. Take a look at my creation, how beautiful, how fine they are. וכל שמה שבראתי, בשבילך בראתי. All this creation is for you, I created it for you, I made it for you. תן דעתך שלא תחריב ותקלקל את עולמי, שאם קלקלת אין מי שתקן אחריך. תן דעתך, pay attention, שלא תקלקל, do not destroy ותחריב את עולמי, שאם קלקלת אין מי שתקן, because if you do, nobody after you is able to bring it back to the same status. So we see that kilkalta is a chorban. What do you mean kilkalta? What kind of kilkul he would do? He would change the status, he would change the nature of something that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created. That is called chorban. That is tachriv olami. And this is how the Maharal explains it. And these are the words that I want to emphasize, and he says it over and over again. The Maharal says the following thing. Kasher davar yotze min haseder, zeu churbano vitulo. When something goes out of his order, that is called churban. That takes it out. That cancels it. When you have something on a certain way, that's the nature of things, that's the way it runs, that's the essence of the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu created and wanted things to be. If you change that, that is called Churban. So the inner understanding of Churban is not that the wall or the city came down, but rather there was over here a change in essence, a change in the nature. It became something else. And we have a few places that we found such a thing. For instance, it says, and that's also, he brings in Gur Aryeh, the Maharal, שהגזלנים מחריבים את העולם. Chazal tell us that the Gazlanim מחריבים, destroy the world. How do they destroy the world? If somebody took from one person and it becomes his, that destroys the world. You destroyed maybe the livelihood of the person that you took from. And even if many people destroy, many people steal, still it's a little bit hard to explain that the whole world of being destroyed. But rather what it means over here, as we explained before, that is a change of status, change the way things are. When you take something that belongs to somebody else, it's just not merely you took something that belonged to somebody else and now it belongs to you. It changes the status of many things. It's a very important midrash. The Gemara says, Rabbi Eliezer ben Pedat was very poor, and he complained to HaKadosh Baruch Hu one day, and he told him, look, I'm so poor, why don't you give me something? It was after he had a whole procedure, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him the following words, ניחא לך דאפכי לעלמא מרישא, אפשר דמתיילד בשעת הדמזונה? He told him, if you want me to change your status, your financial status, I have to change the entire world. I have to create the world again, change everything around, and maybe then, just maybe, you'll be born in a time that you'll have a little bit more finance, you'll have a little bit more welfare. That was the understanding of the Siftei Chaim. The Siftei Chaim of Chaim Friedlander explains it beautifully in Hanagat HaMazal. He says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in a certain way, and everything has an agenda and a goal, and everything is for a purpose, and everything has a mission. And if you are born in a certain way, you're born poor, you're born to such a family that's not so frum, you're born to a family that doesn't have such a good thing in there, whatever it would be, you should know that there's a purpose over here. Kadosh Baruch Hu didn't put you there just because it happened to be. Just because it happened to be that your father is not that successful in business, or that you weren't successful in business, or you married a woman that married a husband that is not successful in business. No. Everything is exact. HaKadosh Baruch Hu made everything for a purpose, and this is your mission in life. When you were born already, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saw to it that you have such challenges in life in order to achieve the work in this world, which is, what is the purpose of this world? The purpose of this world is to glorify HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to show everybody the greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, he told Rav Elazar ben Porat, do you want me to change the entire creation, recreate the world in order to put you in such a place that you'll have more parnasah? This is the understanding of the Gemara, Gazlanim machrivim et ha'olam. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, you're not just changing the money or the thing that you took from that person to you, but rather you over here change the whole creation. Something over here, there's an earthquake in the creation, the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu made it. And that is the understanding of changing status, changing the status of something, changing the nature of something. That's called, according to the Maharal, Churban. Another thing that we found very interesting is the Gemara, famous Gemara with Rabbi Meir in Eruvin Daf Yud Gimel. It says over there that רב מאיר, כשהייתי לומד תורה אצל רבי עקיבא, הייתי מטיל קנקנטום לתוך הדיו ולא אמר לי דבר. כשבאתי אצל רבי ישמעאל, אמר לי, בני, מה מלאכתך? What do you do? He asked him. So רב מאיר told him, לבלר אני, I'm a sofer. אמר לי, בני, הווה זהיר במלאכתך, be very careful with your job. שמלאכתך מלאכת שמיים, שמא אתה מחסירו, מוסיף אות אחת, נמצא אתה מחריב את כל העולם. If you add an extra word to the, or letter, to the mezuzah, to the tefillin, to the sefer Torah, or you take out, you forget one word, one letter, you should know that you are destroying the entire world. What does that mean? How do you destroy the world when you omit a letter or you add a letter? What does that mean? Says the Maharal that the understanding over here is precise because we're talking about the Torah. The Torah is the world. Everything in the world runs according to what it says in the Torah. If in the Torah it says, "In bechukotai telechu v'natati gishmechem beitam," so rain will come down if people behave correctly. So that's exactly what's going to happen. And if the Torah says, "In bechukotai lo telechu v'lo natna haaretz et pirya," the land would not be fruitful. So that's exactly what happens when people don't behave correctly. Then suddenly the land is dry. It's not about weather change. It's not about global warming. Nothing of that. Kadosh Baruch Hu tells us as a plan in the Torah how the world would run. And therefore, when the Torah says something and it's written something in the Torah and you forget a letter in there, you add a letter in there, you're not just changing, you just didn't make a psul sefer Torah, you didn't make just a psul mezuzah. You are changing something in the creation. Something is shaken over here because this is a blueprint of the creation. And now, instead of written this way, it's written something else. So the blueprint now is changing everything in the creation. That's very, very destructive. This is what he says, and that's the word he uses. It's precise. נמצאת מחריב את כל העולם כולו. Pay attention. It's very, very interesting. He told him, בני, הווה זהיר במלאכתך, be very careful with what you do, שמלאכתך מלאכת שמיים. שמא אתה מחסיר או מוסיף אות אחת, נמצא אתה מחריב את כל העולם. You're destroying the entire world. So this is something that really worth paying attention. And this is the words of the Maharal I'm saying. He says over here, כי התורה היא סדר המציאות, כאשר אתה מחסיר אותו, מוסיף אותו, הרי יש כאן תוספת או חיסרון על סדר המציאות. You're changing something in the reality of the world, כמו שסידר השם יתברך כל המציאות בכללו. ומעשה אלוקים, says שלמה המלך in קהלת. מעשה אלוקים אין להוסיף ואין לגרוע. You're not allowed to change the work of הקדוש ברוך הוא. Nothing in the world. כאשר תוספת וגירעון בספר מציאות העולם הוא חורבן כל העולם. When you change something in nature, the entire world is shaken. Let's that put aside, and I want to ask another question, and then we'll see how the two connect. Another question that I'd like to address today is what happened that we are mourning more than anything else the destruction of Yerushalayim? Why not put the emphasis on so many different other things that happen so terrible? We do. Aseret Urugei Malchut, Chana v'Shivat Banea, the Holocaust, the pogroms, so many different things. But the emphasis is Yerushalayim. That's the center of attention on Tisha B'Av, on the 3 weeks. Yerushalayim, everything is it comes along with it. It's like a secondary. But the main is Yerushalayim. Why is that? There was other cities as well that were destroyed. One of them is called Beitar. The Gemara in Gittin Vav says, Beitar and Tur Malka. Beitar was a great city. Very flourishing city. City of Talmidei Chachamim. City that was busting. It was a live city. It was also destroyed. People were left over there, not buried, for 7 years until finally they were able to bury them. The rivers of blood were making lakes of blood. This was the city of Beitar. There's another city called Tur Malka. Tur Malka is even much more so. The Gemara over there, very surprisingly, explains the amount of people that were killed in Tur Malka. The Gemara says in Nun Zayin, if you calculate the amount of people that were killed in Tur Malka, it comes out to 360 billion people. Now this is enormous because the world population is 7.8 billion today. And over there, the Gemara explains that 360 billion people died, if you make the calculation. Some learn it literally, and some say that the Gemara just gives it gives a potential of how many people it would have been able to kill in that city. That's as much city that it could have been producing eventually. This is how the Maharal explains. But whatever it is, whether it is this way or that way, it's an enormous amount, much more than Yerushalayim destruction. So why is it that we're putting the emphasis on Yerushalayim? Let's see the Maharal and connect everything together. Maharal is very clear when you understand everything put together. And this is how the Maharal asks. He asks on the famous Gemara of Kamta Bar Kamta, of Tur Malka and Beitar. The Gemara says over there, Kamta uvar Kamta chariv Yerushalayim. Then it continues, says, Tarnegol v'Tarnegolta chariv Tur Malka, ve'asaka diristepak chariv Beitar. The Gemara puts them together, ties them together. 3 stories, there was much more than 3 stories, but the Gemara puts together those 3 stories. Why the 3 stories were selected out of the Gemara brings many other stories afterwards, but those are the theme. That's how the Gemara starts the Gemara on the Churban, and he puts them together, wraps them together, those 3 together, and says so many more things in the Yerushalmi and the Midrashim. But those are the stars of the day. Why is that? What happened with those 3 and why are they connected? So, he explains the following. I'll read it from inside. These are his words in Netzach Yisrael. Lekach samach churban Tur Malka achar churban Yerushalayim. This is the reason he connects them, and pay attention also, it's precise that the first we're speaking about Yerushalayim, then Beitar, and then Tur Malka. לומר כי חורבן ירושלים וטור מלכה כל חורבן אחד הם. It's one חורבן, one destruction. There's not 3 places that were destroyed and they are categorized in 3 different ways. No, it's one. It's considered one. Why? הכל היה נמשך אחר חורבן ירושלים. כי כאשר חרבה ירושלים, נמשך אחריו חורבן טור מלכה וביתר. Which means, if Yerushalayim is not destroyed, Beitar and Tur Malka could have been staying there until today. Nothing would happen to them. But when Yerushalayim is destroyed, when there's a Churban Yerushalayim, then everything follows along with that like a domino. And therefore, the Gemara puts the 3 together. Why? He says like this, בבאר הגולה, באר חמישי, he explains, יש לך לדעת עוד דברים גדולים מאוד באלו 3 מקומות. I'll explain to you 3 great things about those places, ירושלים, ביתר וטור מלכה. וזה, כי ירושלים אשר היא באמצע הארץ דומה ללב שהוא באמצע הגוף. ירושלים is the heart. It's in the middle of the body. It's the middle of Judaism. It's in the middle of the world, of the creation. That is ירושלים. It's the heart. אמנם ביתר מצד ימין, ביתר is on the right side of ירושלים, and טור מלכה is on the left side of ירושלים. Because everything that has a center has a right and a left, says the Maharal. לכך אי אפשר שלא יהיה כאן ימין ושמאל אשר להם גם כן דברים מיוחדים. לכן היה בארץ ישראל ביתר שהוקרא חזק ותקיף. ביתר was a very very strong place. It was protected when Aspasianus tried to break into Beitar for 3.5 years, wasn't successful, wasn't able to get through to get into Beitar, until eventually something terrible happened over there. The certain Kuti went and made believe that he's speaking to Bar Koziva, which was the general of Beitar, and Bar Koziva, he went to speak to the rabbi over there, Rabbi Eliezer HaModai, and whispered in his ears, and Bar Koziva, which was the general, thought that Rabbi Eliezer HaModai, which was the sage of Beitar, he thought he's becoming also a traitor like that Kuti, and he came and he asked him, what is whispering to that person? Rabbi Eliezer HaModai said, I said nothing. So he kicked him and he killed him, and right away Hashem said, you killed Rabbi Eliezer HaModai, you be killed right away. And that's what happened immediately. Bar Koziva died right away, and the city was destroyed instantly. So this was a city of Beitar. It was extremely strong, very, very powerful, chazak v'takif, veyesh lo chozek yamin, just like the right hand, the right side is always strong. On the other hand, on the left, there was Tur Malka. What happens on Tur Malka? Tur Malka represents ribui, flourishing, reproduction, a lot of things. And that's the reason the stories are very much precise that way. Why is it? Because in Tur Malka happen things that are very different than Beitar. In Beitar, in Tur Malka, there was Tarnegol v'Tarnegolta, which represents reproduction. Tarnegol v'Tarnegola, chickens lay out many, many eggs. So whenever Chazal wanted to speak about reproduction, they spoke about Tarnegol. Don't be like a chicken, Chazal say. On the other hand, Asaka disrispak Charif Beitar. That was a symbol, the place of Beitar symbolizing, we said, the hand, the right hand, the strength, and that is represented by the chariot, which is very, very strong. So therefore, Chazal explained also, says the Maharal, that you have to have first, in that Gemara, you have to have first the strength, and after you have the strength, you reproduce it. You make many of it. And that's why it is the way it is. That Yerushalayim is tied together with strength of things that were surrounding it and things that were reproductions of many, many. There was flourishing of many, many people in Tur Malka. And that's what we explained before, that in Tur Malka there were billions of people, whether it was or wasn't, but that is the idea Chazal trying to explain to us. It comes to multiply things by much. But everything starts with the heart. Everything starts with the essence. Everything starts in Yerushalayim, which was exactly in the middle. And therefore, Maharal says in a different place, in Be'er HaGolah, Be'er Shishi, he explains that you should know that the destruction of Eretz Yisrael should have happened one time, not more than that. פעם אחת נגזר עליהם החורבן, ולא שני פעמים. So why is it that we have Beitar and Yerushalayim happen in different timing also? Yerushalayim first, then Beitar. It happened a few years after. Why did that brought down as two different places that were Nechrav? Says the Maharal, כי ביתר וירושלים חורבן אחד הוא. It's not two חורבנות. Because one חורבן נגזר עליהם, ולא שני פעמים. כי ביתר וירושלים חורבן אחד הוא, ואינם שני דברים מחולקים. ובוודאי, אם לא נחרבה ירושלים, לא הייתה נחרבת ביתר. הכל נמשך אחר חורבן ירושלים. Everything starts and ends in Yerushalayim. Once Yerushalayim is destroyed, once you touch Yerushalayim, you touch the heart. Just like in a body. The heart is the king of all the limbs. If a person doesn't have the right hand, he could live. He doesn't have a reproduction organs, he could live. He doesn't have something that represents Beitar or Tur Malka, he could live, but he can't live without a heart. A heart is of everything. If the heart, Chas v'Shalom, gets sick, if the heart stops pumping, everything is destroyed instantly. And therefore, that's the idea of Chazal. And that's really what Chazal tell us, that the famous Gemara in Kiddushin, Samech Dekamta ve'alita el hamakom asher nivchar Hashem, rise to the place that Hashem chose. What is that? מלמד שבית המקדש גבוה מכל ארץ ישראל, וארץ ישראל גבוהה מכל הארצות. What's the highest place in the world? Bet HaMikdash. Which city is the highest in the world? Yerushalayim. The Mefarshim ask, 1 minute. Yerushalayim is high? It's not that high. Bet HaMikdash is so high? Not so high. So many different places in the world that are much higher than Yerushalayim and Beis HaMikdash. What the Gemara means over here? So the Maharal, the Ramchal, at the place over there, in the back of Kiddushin Samech Tet, says that what it means that the Bet HaMikdash is Merkaz HaOlam, is the center of the world. That's what it means. Doesn't mean height in physical aspect. It means that it's high in spirituality. It is the center of the world that we can understand. And the Khatam Sofer explains that, and he says that whenever you have something round like a ball, so you can't find a place that's higher than the other. Everything is on that ball. So if it depends where you're putting it, you put it on this way, so the top would be high. If you turn it to the other side, so all of a sudden whatever was in the bottom would be high. So what does it mean that it's the highest place in the world? He says, כיוון שמקום זה הושתת העולם, דהיינו כל העולם התחיל משם, לכן הוא נחשב גבוה מכל הארץ. Where was the world created from? What is the point that Hashem took and created everything from it? It didn't just one day Hashem said, okay, we create a world that's going to look like the globus we have today. No. He went and he created first Even HaShtiyah. He put it in a place that is known today to be in Bet HaMikdash. And from there, everything expounded and went out and the world was created. So if that is the case, that is the meaning what the Gemara says, that Bet HaMikdash is gavoa mikol ha'aratzot. Yerushalayim is gavoa mikol ha'aratzot. Now we understand that Yerushalayim is the heart, it's the center. Everything starts and ends in Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is something that's extremely important. And if that is the case, we can understand very clearly that when you destroy the heart, you destroy everything as well. Therefore, we can clearly understand with that understanding, with this teaching, that the enemies of Klal Yisrael are always targeting Yerushalayim, always targeting Beis HaMikdash, always targeting Al-Aqsa. What happened over there? Why is that? They don't know inside. They can't explain to you. They can't verbalize. They can't tell you what's the reason. But that is the reason. When something is the heart, when something is the center, it has like a pull to it, and therefore everybody's attacking that very place. Now let's understand something. When you have such a place that is so central, so important, so holy, obviously we're talking about importance in Kedusha. When you have something that has such a Kedusha, if you bring a little bit Tumah to it, it's felt much more than if you take the Tumah to somewhere else. Take Tumah to somewhere else in the world, there's not going to be so much impression. That's not going to make an impression on it. But when you take Tumah to the holiest place, of course it's going to have a tremendous impression. And therefore, the attack on Yerushalayim is not only a war against the place. It's not only to try and conquer the place and bomb the place and do whatever they can do, attack it physically, but also to attack it spiritually. And that is what I want to explain and go back to what we explained beforehand. Today there's a war. I heard a couple of speakers beforehand spoke about this. Today there's a war, but the war have changed face. There was things that were changed very much in the last year, 2 years, 3 years, but things are happening rapidly as time goes. An evolution. It used to be that war on Yiddishkeit was an ideology war. It used to be that there was war in the world of ideology. It used to be that there was Frum people, that there was an orthodoxy, and then there was others, there was Reform, and other sects, all kind of sects. That is an ideology war. They told, we say you should keep the laws this way, and they say the other way. We say we should do things one way, and they say it should be done another way. Okay, that's a war of ideology. Even the world at large had a lot of different changes of ideology. People that believed one thing and they believed it differently, and they were arguing and they were fighting, and there's a lot of things that happened in the last 200 years. But something has very much changed in the last 10 years, and much more so in the last year, and even much more so in the last few months. And that is not anymore a war on ideology. That is a war on identity. It's a very strange thing. It used to be that people attacked ideology so you'll be able to strengthen yourself with ideology, to give you a chizuk, give you a talmidim a chizuk, give your children a chizuk, and explain to them about Emunah, about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, about Frumkeit. And that is the war that have happened throughout generations. This is generations' war. Something very different happened now. This is a war on identity. Identity is something totally different. It's change in Teva, which means Yirmiyah, when he explains to us that he doesn't understand what have happened over here, with the question we asked, I think the meaning over there is that Yirmiyah was asking, I don't understand. When people sin, they get punished. What punishment means? The worst punishment you'll send them to a galus. That's fine. You send them away. But why hurt Yerushalayim? Why destroy Yerushalayim? Why destroy Beis HaMikdash? That's not part of punishing a person. And that is where HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them, no, there's a change over here. In essence, when you have a change in essence, in Mahut, in Teva, differently, you change things from the way I created them, then you have to change. Then there's no life anymore to the thing, to the baby I created, to the creation, to Yerushalayim, to the heart. You are changing the creation, the heart stops pumping. That is the back and forth between Yirmiyah and the Nevi'im and the Chachamim and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They didn't understand why Yerushalayim should be destroyed. You want to punish the people, I understand. Send them away, punish them, do whatever it is. They deserve it. It's hard to say, but Yirmiyah lists all the sins of the people. Fine, but why you have to destroy the heart? Why you have to destroy Yerushalayim? Why you have to go to the center where the world was created and take that away? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu explained to him, no, you have to do that when the creation is not what I created anymore. That's it. That's not what I created. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the world beforehand when things have changed the essence, the nature. When is that? In Sodom, for instance. And Sodom, Ra'im v'Chataim, what they were doing, the mashchitim, the Or Chaim says, they were oisek in Mishkav Zechor, which was a terrible thing. This changed the nature. When you change the nature, HaKadosh Baruch Hu destroyed the place. Same thing happened in the Babul. What happened in the Babul? Same thing. When there was Ashchata in the place. V'tishachet haaretz. What does that mean? Rashi tells us over there that all of a sudden, even the animals started going not with their own mates. The animals went with they mate with different animals. That was a strange thing. That is change in nature. That is change in the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu formed the world. That's not my word, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says. That's not what I created. That's not what I wanted. You took something and you completely, what he told Adam HaRishon, Yizaher שלא תקלקל ותחריב את העולמי, שאם אתה מקלקל אין מי שיתקן אחריך. That's it. You destroyed it. That's not the world I created. You attacked the heart. So there's not, the baby doesn't live anymore. And that's what happens today. Today, a person, it used to be that a person knows he was born, so right away they tell him you're Jewish, and you're a boy or you're a girl, and then he gets married, and you're a married person, and you're a father or you're a mother. There's some things that are obvious in nature. There were not things that you could argue. You can argue what is Judaism. You can argue what is Judaism. So Reform would say this way, Conservatives would say this way, Orthodox would say this way. Okay, that's an argument in ideology. Today, it's not like that. It's identity. You're a boy, you don't have to be a boy anymore. At age 6, you can change your gender. You're a girl, you don't like to be girl, they teach you are trapped in the wrong body. They teach you that from kindergarten already. You're trapped in the wrong body, and if you want to change the way you are, the city will fund it. And the parents have no say. Imagine a child 6 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, teenagers. Teenagers today know what they want. They only know that they want pizza and they want French fries. What do they know? Today, they decide this way, tomorrow they decide that way, and it's not changeable. Once you do something, you can't go back on what you're doing. So today, the city will fund it. And it's not only here. It's throughout the world. It's the Western society. It's the Western ideology. It's a change. It's a war on identity. And don't think we are not affected by it. This is all over. You walk down the street, you see flags with the rainbow colors. These disgusting colors are all over. When my kid brings from yeshiva, he brings a toy that has those colors. They don't know better. They probably found it a little bit cheaper. They bought a bunch of them, they gave it out. But when he brings it home, what kind of brainwashing is that? When I go to somebody's house and I see that they have a ball with the rainbow colors, and the parents don't even chop. There's something wrong here. I tell them, do you know what you have here? Oh, it's nothing. We don't. They don't. This is brainwashing. You go to buy cereals with your kids, and you see in the cereal all kind of things that represents crazy ideology of change of identity. When you go to Target had a whole aisle with things, disgusting things. So you take your kid. Who doesn't take his kid to Target? You want to shop for different things for the house. Today, it's all over. They take kids for those that go to Disney World. They shouldn't go, but those that go. They have over there today that used to be disgusting things in Disney World. Today, it's not anymore disgusting. Today, it's distorted. It's distorted. It changed in identity, in the way things in the norm, just be normal. Today a boy does, I had few people calling me. Somebody called me, says, my wife works in the school, she's not allowed to call the boys boys and girls girls. She's not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say today, boys, we're going to recess. How do you know they're all boys? How do you know they're all boys? Just because they appear boys, they're all boys? Maybe he doesn't want to be a boy. Today bathroom is not a protected place. Today there's a war on bathrooms, on privacy. Today there's a war on words. You can't use words anymore. Today there's a war on identity in every level, and it's within reach of our children. We know how to protect ourselves because in somewhat, within time, we understand that this is, but they're targeting the most fragile, the most vulnerable. The kids, they don't know right from wrong. You tell a kid, maybe you're not a boy, so he rethinks it. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm not. I did like the doll that my sister have. Maybe I'm not. So you target people. This is a war on identity. More than that, the war of identity started years ago, many years ago, on parenthood. Today, a father is not a father anymore because they easily take his children away from him in family court. Why does a father need the children? He doesn't need the children. Today, banim gadalti veromamti v'hem pashu bi. You could raise a kid, you could have a family of 8, and one day they take them all away from you. Same thing with the wife also. But today there's nothing like that. Today the whole family structure, married structure of family unit already is very, very weak because in an instance they can tell one of the people there's something else out there, change the way it is, and this breakdown of society, this very breakdown of what I'm saying started already generations ago, maybe 2-3 generations ago, but today in the last year and the last few years, but it's getting worse and worse, it's becoming so destructive and it's affecting us. Hopefully not, but it's coming to us, it's attacking us, it's targeting every kid, especially a kid that opens his eyes and his friend has a phone, he has a phone, or he opens a newsletter, or he walks down the street, I don't know where it is already, it's all over, Kings Highway, he goes to a parade, he goes to a Luna Park, we went to a certain thing in Detroit, they had over there like those things that you go down, I forgot what it's called, from a tree. Like a zooming thing with a wire. My kid went on it with flags all over. I told my wife, do you know what it is? My wife didn't know, Baruch Hashem. I told her, this is the most disgusting thing, all these colors over here. This is an attack, brainwash attack on the most fragile. This is attacking the nature of the heart of what we're talking about. It's coming to the core, and it's going to Yerushalayim as well. And this is something that we need to be open our eyes and understand that it's coming and it's attacking. And once it's attacking, it doesn't make a difference whether it's Jewish or not Jewish, because Sodom and the Mabul were destroyed, the world was destroyed, even though they were going. But that is exactly what happens, and we need to be very, very careful with that and pay attention to what we're seeing, what our children are seeing, and educate them. You're a boy. You have to be proud, you're a boy. You're a Jew. You have to be proud you're a Jew. You are who you are. You have to be proud. Strengthen who we are.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.